Hey 4xe fans, as you can see, I am not in my Jeep. I am in a 2013 Honda Insight. It was actually a 2010 Honda Insight that got me into hybrids, and it was a 2010 that I had for a while, and then I passed on to my oldest son, and we had such a good experience with that vehicle that when my youngest son got old enough to drive, we found a used 2013 Honda Insight for him, and they're just a great car. And no, it's not a Gen 1 Honda Insight for those that are like purists and love Honda Insights. This is a Gen 2, of course, but it's still an Insight. But you may be wondering, why am I talking about an Insight? Why am I in an Insight? Where is my Jeep? Great question. My Jeep is actually in the shop for the battery. Got that dreaded P0 BBD code on my battery, which means it's probably bad. And if you aren't familiar with what's going on with that, that is like an irregular voltage inside the battery, and it is actually the issue that led to those 8 or 9 Wrangler 4xe fires. Is that the vehicle, there was some sort of communications issue between the battery and the rest of the system, and it wasn't communicating that it was having an issue, and it would result in kind of a irregular voltage, which could lead to a thermal runaway situation. So the B9A recall came out to fix that issue where it wasn't pulling in a code to let the operator know that there's something going wrong. And in the beginning, Jeep speculated, there were a number of, I can't remember the number of Jeeps that were on the recall list, but Jeep suspected that like less than 1% of the Jeeps on the recall list would actually end up requiring a new battery. That percentage has already been blown out of the water. The B9A recall, I think a poll that we ran in the 4xe fans Facebook group, something like 6% of people who were on the recall list have had their batteries replaced, and then there's another 3 or 4% that weren't even on the recall list but have had to have their battery replaced. And what we're seeing, unfortunately, is a growing trend of 21 model year Wrangler 4xEs that are starting to throw these P0 BBD codes. And it's not good news. I mean, it's covered under warranty. The 21s have that 10-year, 100,000 mile warranty. So it's not great news that at just over 3 years, like mine, and several people are right at the 3-year mark. These are vehicles that I think the lowest I've seen was around, well, no, somebody has 14,000 miles on theirs, on their 21. Somebody doesn't drive a whole lot at all. But there's been some that have been in like the 30,000 mile range. Mine's almost to 60,000. So it's, I'd say somewhere between that 30,000 and 50,000 range seems to be like an average of 21 model years that are experiencing this. And if you watch one of my previous videos, I kind of talked about it. I started seeing something probably about 8 months ago. I started seeing like, it didn't have as much power going up hills. It would like kind of start the engine at times that in the past it hadn't. I drive the same area basically all the time. I live in Southwest Ohio. It's not a hilly area, but we do have some small hills in the roads. And there were some small hills that it would start the engine. It was just like, come on, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? It's not that big of a hill, and you've done this trip hundreds of times and never had an issue before, and then all of a sudden it started starting the engine. Headwinds would cause it to start in weird situations. And so that is happening in the 4xe community. Sadly, we're seeing kind of an increase in the trend all of a sudden. And I have a feeling that's going to continue. I have a feeling Jeep or Samsung are going to be spending quite a bit of money on batteries. Now, I'm old enough now to know that Jeep will point a finger at Samsung, and Samsung will point a finger at Jeep, and who knows where that will go. Could end up You know, you never know with these things. Sometimes they end up in legal proceedings, but something is not right between on these Wrangler 4xEs. And I hate to point an early finger at Jeep. However, we're not seeing this issue with the Grand Cherokee 4xEs. And the Grand Cherokee 4xE does have a different battery design. It's still a 17.5 kilowatt hour battery, but it's a completely like 2-module design. It's completely different from the Wrangler 4xE. And we're not seeing a bunch of people posting in the 4xE fans group that they're getting a P0 BBD code on the Grand Cherokees. So I don't want to do that prematurely, but it sure does seem like it's a design issue from Jeep. So we're going to have to stay tuned to this and see what happens down the road, and see if this becomes a trend. And then we'll have to watch in 2025, around this time in 2025, we'll say June, July, to see if some of the 22 model year Wrangler 4xEs that are getting up in that 30 to 40 to 50 miles, 1,000 mile range. Sorry, I'm not converting to kilometers. But we're going to have to see if that is a trend, or if there was something with the first run batteries that didn't work out well for the design. You know, I don't know. But this is just something to watch and see how this plays out. And I will be equally interested to look in another 3 years if we see any trends with these batteries that are getting replaced in 2024. If in 2027 we start to see 21 model year vehicles, am I saying that right? 24 to 5, 6, yeah. If we're seeing 21 model years that again go back into this state, you know, hopefully this isn't an every 3-year thing. And we're not seeing like a large percentage. I wouldn't say this is going to happen to all 21s. Hopefully this is an anomaly, but it does seem to be a growing one, and it's just really interesting and something to watch, and something that we'll have to pay attention to going forward. So if you have a 21 model year and you're seeing like what the warning signs for me, like I was saying, loss of performance, I was losing range. I do have a 2-inch lift, and I do have 33-inch tires, not that big, but I didn't notice the change when I put the tires on, and I didn't notice the change with the lift. It was later, but we're hearing from people that have stock Jeeps that are having the issue. So I don't think it has anything to do with the lift or the 33s. But if you start to see a decrease in range, like I had one day, I got 13 miles out of my battery. And also, if you have the ability to measure the amount of power when you're charging the vehicle, if you can see the amount going in, like I have a device on my electric panel that I can see how much power is being used by the whole house. And the last time I charged it, it only took 10 kilowatt hour, where it should be somewhere around 15 kilowatt hour. So that was definitely a change. So that is a battery degradation issue. That's a loss of capacity, and that's just something to look for. Naturally, the charge time was also shorter too. I never really timed it, but I noticed one day it was like an hour and a half later after I'd plugged it in. I'm like, oh, you're already charged. You know, it was already gone through the whole cycle. So that's the things to look for. Also, look for behavior like you'll be driving in electric mode. It'll start the engine kind of in a weird kind of like panic, almost like, I call it a panic, like the system was expecting more power from the electric side than what it was getting, and just finally said, oh, I'll take care of this. I'll start the gas engine. And then if you're in the 55 to 65 mile an hour range, it seemed like it had a hard time deciding whether or not it could keep the gas engine running or not. Even when it had like 50% charge, it would run the gas engine for a little while, and it would turn off, and then it would like almost, you know, a few seconds later start the engine back again and then turn off. And that was kind of a weird behavior that it was exhibiting, where it was like it could tell it wasn't getting what it should have been getting out of the battery, and so it was kind of confused, like, you should be doing this, you should be able to handle this, but it wasn't, and it was starting the gas engine and turning off. So all those are kind of things to look for, but then eventually you get a, what is it called? It's not check engine light, although it looks like an engine on the dash. The multi-function indicator light came on, and I was able to pull the code and see the P0 BBD. Highly recommend an OBD reader, like a Bluetooth OBD reader, and JScan. You can go to an auto parts store and plug in their scanner. It'll show the code, but it may not be able to identify what the code is, but you could still see the P0 BBD. But a lot of us have found it's probably just a good idea to have a code reader. You can pick them up for $40 on Amazon, and then download JScan. I think there's like a $10 or $15 fee for the license for the Wrangler 4xe. So it's not a bad idea to have one, so you know what's going on, and you're able to kind of self-diagnose what's happening when you do get a check engine light or a multi-function indicator light. I guess that's about it. Just wanted to share some of that, and hopefully this is not a growing trend, but I'm just having a feeling by watching what's going on in the community that it might be with the 21 model years. So we'll have to see. Thanks for watching.